The one characteristic of God that stood out to me in my experience for Time Out Rider is that he's a redeemer. He's redeemed my life. I can say that when I came here, my faith was very simple, if I had any, and something like sharing the gospel with another student was something that I didn't think should have been done. I thought that faith was a very personal thing. And to this day, it's become a lifestyle for me to really just talk to a stranger and just share Jesus with them. I never thought I would be in that position. That's just one area that God has redeemed. I've also seen him redeem the lives of you guys and your friends. I've seen him redeem your families, you know, and I see that as a ripple effect. I see it as like if you're standing by the river and you're throwing a stone in the water, the ripple goes out, right? So I feel like when you let Jesus into your life, he not only does things to you from the inside to the out, but also to the communities around you, and that's so exciting. And I think especially for seniors, I don't see this as the end for us. I see this as we're going out and we're creating a bigger ripple effect in the world, if that makes sense. So how does that happen? Well, I think that a big thing is that the measure that you give is the measure you get. You know, if you can't come to university every week and expect to be changed. You can't go to church every week and expect to be changed unless you invest a lot in the person of Jesus Christ, unless you meditate on his word day and night. And I just had such a thirst for God that I was like open to him working in my life because I was so broken and so lost. And I just, my thing lately is I'm like, I want to be a man that puts God first. I want to look back on my life and say, wow, I really put God first. And I know a lot of you guys, you really are good at putting God first. I encourage you to keep doing that. You'll never be disappointed. Do you ever think of a time where you've put God first and you're like, that was a disappointment? No. God is so faithful and he's awesome and he's your shepherd. You can't shepherd yourself. You need a shepherd. And so, so not only was I completely open to people speaking in my life, but I had a lot of really great mentors and friends who followed Christ. And that's one thing that I realize is a privilege here at Rider is I made a list of 20 people off the top of my head who invested time into me, who got to know me as a person and led me closer to God in a certain way. And that is a blessing. If you don't have a mentor, I recommend 100% getting a mentor. And also do things that make you uncomfortable. Do things that make you uncomfortable. Everything I did in InterVarsity made me uncomfortable. It was because of peer pressure and Jesus Christ that I did a lot of things. When you put yourself in a place of tension, you put yourself in a place of uncomfortableness, but it's for the kingdom. You got to remember who you're serving, you know? Like, one of my favorite things that Chuck said lately is that when you're sharing the gospel on the street, which is also something I'm really scared of, it's worshiping God. You're doing it before the presence of the Lord. So even if everybody thinks you're crazy, which they will, you're growing in Christ and you're being brought closer to Christ. And what other things should we strive for? So, yeah, put yourself out there. Be courageous. That whole InterVarsity like parable about the battleship and the cruise ship, if you don't know it, I'm going to tell it to you someday, because when you are with your friends and you are doing something that is challenging but is for the Lord and you look back on it, you're like, wow, I have a story. I have something I can share with somebody else. And that's where the ripple effect happens, is you share and you tell people, this is what Jesus did in my life. And, you know, being a Christian is so exciting. When I think about Rider and my experiences here, I consider everything else rubbish compared to knowing Jesus Christ. And so that's pretty much everything that's in my heart right now. I love you guys. I hope you have a great year next year. We really are becoming a fellowship that is working well with other groups. I see the river flowing in very different directions. I see us being welcoming. I see us going outside our comfort zone, all these really good things. So keep it up. Don't be afraid just because people are graduating. We get replaced every year in the river. God looks down and he sees Rider and he sees just student Christians on campus. They're flowing like a river for generations and generations. The river gets bigger, and it's so exciting.